Hello and welcome back to another episode of CamBro Conversations. And today's conversation, we are talking all things sales in the fitness industry. To do so, we are joined by Stuart Mackenzie of FitPros Sales. Stuart, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
Delighted to have you, and another introduction for somebody to come on the podcast. I'm really using my network to reach all these different guests in different areas. So a big shout out to the Savage Scholar, Chris Burns, for getting us connected. And as soon as Chris sent me across your page and was saying, I think you'd have a good chat with Stu. Here's what he's up to. Here's what he's doing. You come across as somebody that's very, very direct. And I think when you look at this particular area where you're teaching people how to grow their business in particular, we sometimes find there's a little bit of a lack of genuine people and how they're presented.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of people talking about authenticity, but the more they talk about being authentic, the more they kind of hide behind fake authenticity, and it kind of you can smell it a mile away. You can just smell it, and it's I don't think I've got enough energy to try and be that over the top, hyped up, weirdly fake authentic type thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's a strange one, that's for sure.
It is. And when you said that word energy there, that really struck a chord with me. And I've had this conversation with a couple of people now, not always on the podcast, sometimes away from it, but you really see people's true colors when they do a longer form piece of content like an IGTV. IGTV is like the very limit, but more often not a podcast or a YouTube video. You figure out what somebody's actually like because the facade and the kind of polished veneer that they put on socials that they want you to see quite quickly slips when you get into a back and forth for 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, you can say what you want on a post. You can say what you want behind a professional photo in a nice car with a nice watch on and whatever, talking about whatever. But the moment someone, like we were saying before, everybody wants to have a podcast, but not everyone can have a podcast. Like, some of these people can dive into things, and you can't hide in a conversation like this. So why try and be something totally different if the possibility of being found out is out there? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, people are gonna buy into you and who you are and all of those various different things. So just be yourself. Like, if I'm quite laid back, a bit direct, and like to sort of take the piss out of myself, and that's just the way it kind of is. So if I was to try and be anything else, it would honestly be so much more effort that I wouldn't. I just don't think I'd have. I don't think I'd have the energy for it. It's a lot of effort to do that type of stuff. So it's just not what I'm interested in, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly that. Pouring your energy into a false persona and a false facade, which can be quite quite popular to do to kind of make it as a business mentor or a business guru, but you're definitely plowing a different furrow when it comes to that. So Stu, for those that aren't acquainted with you, give us a bit of a background, because I know you've worked across the fitness sector, you've worked across the sales sector. What would be the Google Maps tour of your career and your background?
Yeah, sure. Well, I got into personal training when I was like 18, so it's like 12. That's sickening to say. It's like 12 years ago now. And I wasn't very good. I just thought you'd put a PT t-shirt on in the gym and everyone would come running to you with 30 pounds and they'd all queue up. And that's obviously not how it works. So I got into PT, did incredibly terrible at it, moved away from it, did some kind of admin jobs, did some boring stuff, and then got back into it finally. So I'm from the Wirral, but I went and got a job in a pure gym in Warrington. I did a lot better this time. I was around sort of like 21 as I came into this. And did a lot better there. A year later, opened up my own gym with one of the other PTs that was there. And this was like the beginning of the end of me in the fitness industry, even though that didn't happen until about 7 years later. My ego kept me in the fitness industry as a coach for so bloody long. And I tell this all the time, like, my ego was the reason why I didn't get out of it. I thought random people on the street saw me as he's the PT guy, so that's all I had to be. Anyway, I'm sure we'll cover that. Owned my own gym. We did okay. We grew. Well, we scaled up far too quickly in terms of we just got a bigger gym because we fell out with the landlords from where we were. Like 3 times the size, 10 times the expenses. And I started to really lose the passion for coaching because it was just so stressful. I became a gym manager rather than a coach now. I wasn't a personal trainer anymore. I was operations manager. I was the content creator, the sales manager. You know, I was everything in there. After a few years of that, I think 4 or 5, I walked away from that, became an online coach, and did very well with that. You know, compared to the gym, I was doing very, very well. Incredibly low overheads, that's for sure. Doing on the online coaching, did a bit of coaching, like face to face again from outside of a friend's gym, like a little facility that he had. Things happened, whatever happened, basically ended up stealing all my in-person clients, and I found myself back in a commercial gym. The very first commercial gym I worked in all those years ago. This was 2000.
Back to square one then, Stu, in terms of...
Back to square one, yeah. And this was like 2000, beginning of 2019, I think. I sometimes get my years mixed up. Beginning of 2019. And I was just washing down treadmills, and I'd lost a bunch of online clients as well. Again, my passion for coaching was just dwindling. Like, I was good at the content. I love doing that. I love building the relationships. I love chatting to people. I love the sale. It was just a dread afterwards, knowing that I would have to look after them. So I wasn't really doing people a good service, and I felt really, really guilty about that. But I knew it was the only way I could pay the bills. You know, I was the PT. That's what I'm supposed to be. From there, I saw somebody in one of the groups that I'm in asking if someone could do some sales calls for them. And this was literally as I'm on shift in the gym, cleaning down treadmills. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm either going to jump out of a window in a sec, or I need to do something different. So I just messaged him, was like, I'll give it a go. Like, I think I'm good at selling. Like, I don't mind it. Did that. 6 months later, I had my sales agency. I had a bunch of people selling for me. I had a ton of clients that I couldn't handle. I think we've done about 100 grand in a couple of months for clients. And then from there until now, we've closed over 3 million for different clients, with predominantly being me and one other guy, Zahid, my main sales guy. So the team was even smaller. We had a smaller batch of clients, but we just went full force with those types of things. And then in between that, because the sales agency side of things wasn't really a good fit for most coaches, but I knew I could help them, I created just like it was a really rough and ready course. It was like a 30-day, give me 100 quid. Here's sprint. Give me 100 quid. Here's a PDF download, and we'll jump on a call. That then just blew up and expanded from there as well. So we've had a couple hundred, I think under 200 in total, come through that course. And then because of the success of that, and consulting with some gyms and training their staff and all those kind of things in the arts of sales and stuff, I've now got 31 private mentoring clients as well, all inside the fitness industry, you know, gym owners, online coaches, personal trainers, whatever. So it's all been like every new step of the things that I'm in now have come from the success of the first thing. So this thing, the agency was working, but I was missing a trick with the people that it wasn't a good fit for. So I've created something and served them. Then inside of this product, people were like, how do I work with you one-to-one? This way, let's give it a go. And then that worked incredibly well. Do you know what I mean? So I've helped a bunch of coaches launch like new ventures, like side ventures that have now become their main businesses, and all these various different things as well. So it's really, really exciting. Like the passion for sales, but in the mentoring side of things, it's like I love big ideas. And one big idea of mine is what kind of changed my life. So helping someone take a big idea and see where we can take that is kind of what gets me going nowadays. Yeah. So
in sharp contrast, that gets you going to that self-awareness that you managed to have when it came to being back on that gym floor, like you say, on your cleaning the treadmills, then maybe doing your RPT, and then back doing a spin class, whatever it was, to pay your rent. And the fact that you just didn't find fulfillment in that is important. You eventually acknowledged it. I know you've just said that your ego kept you there for a very long time.
God, yeah.
What were the main things that kept you then? The fact you said that when you were walking down the street with the Pure Gym t-shirt on or whatever, you were like, I'm Stuart the PT. People in Warrington, people in the world know me as a PT. Is that the anchor that held you?
Honest to God, yeah. Like if I really think about it, like I thought if I wasn't a PT, people must think I'm a failure then. If I'm not still a PT, like I'm supposed to be the PT, I'm supposed to be a PT forever or a gym owner or something. So it was almost like, and walking down the street without any of my, gym stuff on, it was just like, oh, what if these people know that I'm in a gym? Like no one gives a shit really. But that's just what was holding me. I'd put so much time and effort and money into this thing. I was like, I have to make it work because, well, I have to. I've got no other options. I didn't really, I didn't fulfill much with the education side of things in school. I didn't go to uni. I've got no real qualifications. I've been self-employed for so long. I'm probably unemployable. Wouldn't even know what to do with it. You know what I mean? Like all these various different things. I was like, I've got to stay. I've got to make this work. I've got to make this work. And that was all that ran circles in my mind was I've got to make it work somehow. I have to, because
the fact that you enjoyed the selling aspect and the marketing, the content creation aspect of driving online clients and then driving one-to-one clients, it's great that thankfully you realized that and you had a passion for that. Otherwise, goodness knows where you'd end up, Stu. But it certainly sounds like having that element of fulfillment, it snowballed into you taking on these sales calls, because anyone that hears the word sales, and I've had a sales trainer on the podcast before who trains in the corporate world, Matt Sykes. He was an interesting guy, but people get a bit of a visceral reaction when sometimes they get asked to sell something, and there's the fear of rejection for starters. One of the biggest ways you can differentiate yourself in jobs like mine in the corporate world in terms of business development is by not being shit scared of the phone. And the fact that you weren't shit scared to jump on some sales calls for somebody in a kind of fitness coach group that you were involved in probably helped you stand out straight away.
Yeah, I think what a lot of it kind of came to, because I didn't like think I was amazing at sales or anything like that at all, like when I jumped into it, but it was one of the key words you said before was the self-awareness side of things. I don't think I had any self-awareness whatsoever, like originally, because, well, I clearly didn't. And then it got to a point where, and it's something I always speak to people about now, is that like nobody's coming to save you at all. If you're in business, no one gives a shit. Your business doesn't give a shit. Business itself, the economy, whatever, doesn't give a shit about you and your feelings and what you think you should be doing. It's all about the actions that you take and what you do with them. And I had zero self-awareness. I thought the world was against me and it was everybody else's fault and everyone was to blame but me. Look at all this effort I'm putting in. Why isn't it just being gifted to me? Like this should be for me. This should be for me. And I mean, there was some scary territory that we were in. It's, at some points, like financially, mentally, like all these various different things. And it was only until I was in that gym, I think I got a wave of self-awareness all of a sudden, where it was like, I can't actually, like, if I seriously look at this, what the hell is going to happen in the next 12 months if I don't change something? Because I wouldn't like to think what the route was, whether it was a job, whether it was whatever. I remember sitting there and I was applying for, I tell you what I was doing when I was on shifts. And this is how stupid that and impulsive it can be sometimes. I was applying for jobs. I messaged my old boss in Costa Coffee that I worked at years ago if there was any available hours going. I had a job lined up with them, and I embarrassingly just never bothered because I took on the sales calls and it's, whatever. So I felt a bit bad for that. But I was applying for like the Nespresso counter in PC World to sell that. I applied to be a postman, didn't even get an interview for that. And then I started doing like these casino loopholes. Someone wrote me into doing these, the casino loopholes and max betting and stuff. And I was spending all my time like on the, like, oh my God, click this button here, click button, but and I was just trying to find ways to pay bills because I wanted to do everything other than PT. And then a huge wave of self-awareness came around. It was like, this isn't sustainable. This isn't what I need to be doing. Like, I'm a fucking grown adult. I've got to fix something. I've got to change something, and no one's going to do it for me. So I'm going to have to move. And that's why when I see in the sales calls things like, you know what, sod it, I can't be scared of doing this. If I don't do this, it'll be something else, but let's act on this thing now. I can see where this could take me. And I wasn't scared to hop on the phone like whatsoever, because I knew what my other options were.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah, at that point there literally wasn't.
Nothing to lose at all. And I've heard you speak about that mindset of staying stuck, which is a term that I can probably get away as a Scottish person. You can probably get away from being from the world, kind of near Liverpool, Manchester, that kind of accent. Staying stuck, it makes sense when we say it. And not making the move would have left you in a position where, like you say, you don't know where you would have ended up mentally, financially, wherever. And refusing to settle for how things were, it seems like you took personal responsibility, which is something that's extremely out of fashion at the moment if you look at the 2020-2021 COVID world. But we won't go down that rabbit hole for today. Otherwise, this podcast will probably not reach anyone. So
Christ.
I wonder what happened within the 6 months of you agreeing to do some sales calls to you ending up with a sales agency. Obviously, you were good at it, but what did that actually look like?
Oh, Christ. So I took on the first client and made a bunch of sales quite quickly for him. He referred me on to someone else. I was making a bunch of sales for them. So I was doing 2 people's calls. They both usually had anywhere between 5 or 6 calls a day. So I was doing, 8 to 10-ish hours of calls nonstop, just pacing around my house on sales calls for £25 a pop. Like that's what it was. That's what my commission was at the time. And then, because I was still in the gym at this point, but I was spending all my time on the phone calls instead of PTing people. I was just cancelling sessions and doing whatever. And then it got to the point where I was like, I was good at it, and I was speaking to my girlfriend. I was like, something could happen here. What could I do? And bearing in mind, she's listened to all my big ideas over the last sort of 7 or 8 years, like stuck with me through all of it, all of the shite, everything. So this is just another, sounds great, see what happens type of thing. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to charge him a retainer. So I just messaged them. I was like, listen, if you want me to do this full time for you, I can continue to do it exactly as I am right now, but it means walking away from the gym. Now, I know it's not your responsibility to pay my bills, but the way I want my product to look is you pay me a retainer plus commission. Now I can commit all my time to you without having to go and get other clients as well. And then I wouldn't be able to handle all your calls. And they were like, yeah, how much you want? I was like, this much. And like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I was like, right, okay, cool.
You'd have asked for more.
Yeah, no, literally, I upped the price. I upped the price a couple of months later. And they're like, fine, carry on, whatever. So that happened, and the retainers covered all my like personal outgoings, as it were, bills and food and whatever else, and all the commissions were on top. And then I kept getting more, and because I was talking about it on social media, like just talking about what we were doing and the problem that it was solving, it was probably the most thirsty my DMs have I'd ever experienced. Like I was getting constant DMs. I remember being on holiday and I signed up 3 new clients whilst I was, drinking a beer on the balcony type of thing. They were just DMing me. I didn't have to do any sales calls for it. They were like, I heard you do sales for XYZ. Is there something you can do for me? I was like, yeah, I can do anything. No worries. Let's get you in. I'll take it on. And then I had the dilemma of, I can't sell 5 people's products. What the hell am I doing? So I reached out to a couple of people who I knew could sell, blah, 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 built a little team, and we just kind of grew from that. And that's what happened. It was just, I was taking on everyone and anyone, and it worked to a certain point until it didn't really go badly or anything. It was just that some people's lead generation systems weren't what they said they were. So when the leads don't come in, the salespeople get itchy. So it was just an unfair position where people were committing so much time to me, but the leads weren't coming in, so they weren't earning any money. So I had to downsize the team a little bit, and we prioritized a couple of key clients that were bringing in the biggest revenue, really. So that's kind of how it looked in the first. It was absolutely mental. Like it was crazy. It went so quickly, but it was the first stress-free holiday we had in ages. Even though I was signing people up, and I think I did a sales call whilst I was away as well, actually. But
you were solving a problem, though, weren't you? That's the key phrase that you've used. You were solving a problem where a coach or a trainer or somebody in the fitness space has a product they are struggling to sell at the volume that they need to. And you, with your, and I'm not going to say sales scripts, but patter and structure and delivery, were able to convert higher than they were, and quite simply that was worth a lot of money to them. And that for me is the foundation of a lot of good business, isn't it? Where somebody's got a problem, you've got a solution. If the price is amicable and your percentage cut and commission is not enough to wipe out their margin to an extent that they can't do it, then happy days, let's go. And the other point you mentioned within that there, Stu, was when a client came to you and thought that you were this silver bullet to convert 100% of sales, that didn't matter if the top of the funnel, and I'm using corporate speak here, but I'm sure you're all over this as well, but the top of the funnel in terms of number of leads coming through wasn't high. So there was no point in them hiring you guys if they're only getting 2 or 3 a day or 1 a day, whatever it was, because even if you hit 100% rate, they weren't going to do the volume required to really move their figures in the right direction.
Nah, I mean, it was the conversation specifically now as well, because we don't necessarily need like new people. Like, I'll jump on the phone with anyone and talk about it, and they always think, oh no, I just want to know the prices, and I don't need you to sell it to me. It's like, mate, this isn't about me selling it to you. It's for me to find out whether we'll both make money. Because if you get swallowed up in my fees and commission, what's the point? I'm the only one that's going to win in that scenario, but I'll only win in the short term. I want us both to win long term. Yeah, 1 month. That, I'll take 3-4 grand in or something, and you've made 1, like, or something stupid. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? I'd rather make consistent amounts of money for a long period of time whilst you are doing the same, because the better relationship we have, the more opportunities we both have to work, down the line and whatever else. So yeah, I always I actively steer people away from taking on the agency. They need to go away and figure out the numbers if everything is aligned properly on their side, because if it is, we can have a chat. If not, just get better at selling it yourself, which is why you can buy my other thing. do you know what I mean? Like, that's usually the way that it went.
With that in mind, Stu, and them maybe perhaps working on their own selling skills, what is FitPro sales coaching? How would you define it?
So helping people to essentially dramatically improve their ability to sell their services, but in an ethical way that makes sense for them. It's in their voice as well, rather than, well, here's a high converting sales script, just go and repeat words off a page. That's the way that I would put it. So dramatically increasing your ability to sell in an ethical way and in a way that's true to you and how you speak.
Yeah, that sounds a great definition to me. And I think given the conversation that we're having and the conversation we have to start around these gurus and their templates and their cookie cutter approach and their kind of fake authenticity, it doesn't surprise me that you want to try and do it as a version of them. It's the same as whenever I've had sales training in the corporate world before. Sometimes, like, I had a Welsh colleague, for example, that was mad as a box of frogs. Actually, a customer told me, she was like, he is absolutely crazy, but they loved him. And he could sell to certain customers. And he was like our top performer in the first year, every year that I did new business. And he kind of gave like a training session to the rest of the team. And I remember coming out and being like, I don't think anybody can sell like he can, because the way he talks to customers, he'll phone them up and he'll open with a joke on the phone. And I'm not super serious, but I'm quite professional in my approach. Yeah. So I was like, I cannot behave like him. I cannot sell like him. Whereas maybe if you were like given this prescription by a guru to say, oh, you need to open with this particular line, and it just doesn't sound like you, why on earth would you try and just follow that blindly, when instead you could maybe think about the principles and the kind of the actual structure of a call, rather than just a generic opening line and a closing line and a question that you always ask?
100%. Like, I definitely think having a structure, I mean, a structure is technically a script, call it whatever you want. Like, fine. We give people scripts, but we give the education around how to make it sound like you. Like, if we've got this section here, like, I want you to move into this section next, this is how I say it. So what's the reason for you booking this call today? Doesn't mean you have to read it off the page so it sounds like you go, so Steve, so what did you book this? You know what I mean? Like, you just want to get on the phone, speak how you'd speak, flow through, make sure you do specific like that, rather than, like you say, talking somebody else's voice. And if I sell in a certain way, it doesn't mean that everybody, it's like giving meal plans out to people. You give a meal plan to 10 people, 2 or 3 people get fantastic result. The rest of them, awful, whatever. Same thing.
So true.
Same thing.
What do you think the big differences are between FitPro sales and the more corporate sales that maybe I'm coming from?
So this was something we were talking about previously, wasn't it? The fact that I think with the corporate sales side of things, so in the fitness industry, we're selling to people. So like from, you know, a coach selling to general public, you know, who maybe is inquired about something. There's usually like a little bit more convincing when it comes to selling the product than say potentially in the corporate world, where they're in the market anyway for the stuff. They're going to be purchasing something, so it may as well be from you. Do you know what I mean? There's an expectation of a sale to sort of happen.
You're
Whereas
so
in the
right.
fitness industry, whereas in the fitness industry, it's like they may have inquired about the product, but sure as shit doesn't mean that they want it. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's where it differs.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we were laughing before we hit record that the industries I've worked in, insurance and now furniture, people, like you say, they're going to spend that money. It's just about making sure it's with you for your service and that they maximize what they're buying and that you fit it to them so it's in the right place. Whereas you might get Sam who swipes up in a story or signs up to an email list on a whim because he felt small at the gym that day, or or he wants to get in shape for Ibiza, but he's not that sure if his budget will stretch to coaching because he's never had one before, so he doesn't know. And you must get so much of that almost kite flying lead generation, whereas most of the leads I speak to, they probably spend money in this area already. It might be less money than I want them to spend because my service is a different tier or a different standard to what they currently buy. Or it might well be they spend a lot more and that I'm not up to scratch for the spec that they're looking for. And it's really interesting, the difference. And I think one of the things that we said before was the emotional element of FitPro sales as well. What would you say the biggest factor is when it comes to emotion?
So like a lot of the time so if someone's got paid traffic, that's how they're getting their leads from it. There's probably like almost less emotion involved, I suppose. I mean, you've got to use more emotion on the call, but when it comes to the content, there's probably a little bit less. They've got a good copywriter, like someone like Chris Burns, for example, then they'll it'll be easier when they are on the calls. A lot of the time, if you're using your content organically through social media, etc., it's much easier to have the person be in a position to purchase. But when we talk about like emotion on like the calls, you will have to use it in a certain way, but the way that it's been used or, you know, manipulated over the years, especially in this industry, is it's always been the tactic to double down on and poke and prod and twist the knife in. And it's one of those things where I personally don't believe you're going to be taking someone on in the right frame of mind if you just emotionally abuse them for 45 minutes in order to take some money off of them. Again, it depends on your niche, but again, it kind of doesn't either. Like I remember being on some kind of call. I remember being on calls where people on the other end have told me that previously they've been told, you know, the mentor, whoever's told them, has said, you know, if you make them cry, double your price, and things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, or add a zero onto it or something. Like, and I'm not even joking. Like, those are the types of things that you'll come across. Or like I was on one where the specific aim was to like get them to a point of not necessarily crying, but in that type of place. Do you know what I mean? Because then you've broken them down. Now we can build them up. And it's like, bollocks to that. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a psychiatrist. Like, I don't know how to deal or work with a person, a man or a woman or whoever, who's now an emotionally battered. I'm a personal trainer.
Yep.
I do fitness stuff. Do you know what I mean? Nutrition and training. That's my limits.
Yeah, it's very funny how emotion's an important part of a sale because people buy from people, don't they? And they buy when there's a demand to, and they feel compelled and everything like that. And these are important words to throw around. But like you say, if it can be quite an emotive subject, your body and like how you feel about your confidence and whatnot. And I definitely think there's sometimes people play on those other emotions in an uncomfortable way. And I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about structure, and I think that might be for me one of the big overlaps between the two areas, because when I've spoken to friends that are coaches, I've been either really impressed or horrified by the kind of agenda that they go into a sales call with a client with, or a consultation call, whatever the term they want to use. But it's a call where they're going to present the terms. Yeah, they're going to present the terms. They're going to ask you to spend their money with them. Appoint me as your personal trainer. Sign this contract, or sign up to the direct debit. Agenda seems to be the main thing. What specific questions do you think often feature that you think are healthy within a conversation?
So obviously we always start off with a bit of small talk, but this is something that I always kind of say to people is like, even in the small talk part, try and open up with some sort of positivity rather than, hey, how's your day been at work? Have you been in work today? Like I never want people to ask if people have been in work, because usually it'd be like, yeah, busy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh God, you've got to start on this tune. So it's like, hey, how's your day been? Have you been up to much the weekend? Have you got any plans coming up? Start that a little bit. What start that entry point of conversation, and it's like, no worries. What is it you do for fun then? No one gets asked that. No one gets asked, what do you do for fun then? And it can sound like a bit of a cringy, weird question, but I can guarantee they would appreciate the fact that you just asked them something like that. And so I always like to have it started off with a real good. So it doesn't have to be that specific question, but just something positive that gets them in the right frame of mind, because they might not have been expecting a call. They might have forgot. They might not like being on the phone. You never know. So anyway, so in that agenda part then, so this is just like the very start of the conversation, where I like to essentially tell the person exactly what's going to happen, so that there's no surprises at the end when it comes to the part of, do you want to work with me? Can I have some money, please? It's just a case of literally like 0 questions. It's like a statement. Okay, so say, right, okay, so aim of the call today is I'm going to run through a series of questions, ask you about what you may be struggling with, exactly what your goals are, just so I can figure out and see if you are somebody that I can help. And if that is the case, and you feel confident with everything that we've spoken about today, I'll give you an opportunity to enroll on my XYZ program. If you do decide that it's something that you want to go ahead with, and finish it with that. Don't even say, is that okay? Like, leave it as a statement. And usually they'll just go, oh, yeah, fine. Right, okay, perfect. So what exactly was it that made you want to reach out today then? Like, and that's it. Like the beginning, you've just told, there's no surprises now, like at all.
Yeah,
they know they're here for a reason.
It's not Scooby-Doo. You're not going to pull the mask off at the end and reveal the fact that you're now going to try and sell to somebody. You need to, it's like bottom line up front. And the bottom line is, I'm going to propose at the end that we work together for a call. And it's because
if they're not happy with that, like if they go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going to buy something, like, oh, you'd be like, oh yeah, so is that a problem? Do you feel you're in a position to purchase today? Like, if we have this conversation, do you feel you would be ready? And if they say no, okay, that's fine, not a problem. What we'll do is, let's catch up next week. I'll send you a couple of resources over. Have a little look around, go on my social media, find out a little bit more about me, ask me any questions, and we'll catch up next week. I'm not going to pressure you. No worries, see you later.
So much better, because deal with the objection early on rather than waiting to the end and then scrambling and chasing your tail to be like, oh, but my price is really competitive, or oh,
yeah.
And it's
how much do you spend on coffee? How much do you spend on wine? Yeah, let's really start pissing people off, shall we? That's definitely going to be the way to get their money off them.
Yeah, you try and frame the cost versus something else that you spend your money on, and there is an argument. And when Mike Samuels, and another mutual friend of ours, was on the podcast, he was saying it is horrifying sometimes when you look at where people allocate the resources towards. If they were really meticulous, would they be better off paying for a coach, a mentor, or whatever for even 6 months and sacrificing some of the more frivolous spending? But that's definitely a conversation for another day. One of the other things that I know that you do really well with your clients is getting them to relay what's been said. What is the approach to that? How does it work in practice?
So the kind of the next section, or like the next kind of main section anyway, after small talk agenda, asking them, the initial sort of thing of why they were on the call, you go through a series of questions of asking, well, what exactly is it that you need help with? What are you struggling with? When they're giving you this information, it's just always an opportunity for you to ask, what do you mean by that? Can you expand on that? And all you're doing is making them talk more. You're making them talk more, say more stuff, open up more, go through things. Okay, so when you say that, what do you mean by that? It's showing that you've listened. People like to know that they've been listened to, because a lot of the stuff that they are saying here may be the first time they've actually said it out loud or to another person. and they don't know you. Potentially they've never even come across you before, or whatever. You know, ideally they have. They follow you on social media, whatever. But you're showing, you're mirroring some of the things that they're saying. You're showing that you are listening, and then when you feel as though you've got enough there, like enough information from them, you just say, right, okay, so what you've told me is this. Now, if you can summarize that whole thing, all of the answers that they just said, they could be sat there thinking, fuck me, have I just said all that type of stuff? Like, that's really what I'm thinking. You've diagnosed exactly where they are, and you've shown that you're listening. Like, it's hugely powerful, like massively powerful. And it's something that's proven. Like, it's not something that I've made up. Like, it's proven in like negotiation tactics and all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, because I like it as well. If I've said a bunch of stuff to people and then they go, right, okay, so you've said this, and this, I'm like kind of impressed, because I can say all kinds of shit and not know what I've said. So if they've listened, win-win for me.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
And they're able to verbalize it back, so they've really taken it on board, and then it helps you to formulate your thoughts and next steps. And I'm a huge fan of that summarizing of what's been said, because you get a reassurance, like you say, you've been listened to and heard, and maybe this solution is viable for me because it meets those requirements, because I've said X, Y, and Z. So no, a big fan of that. And like you say, summarizing before just plowing on all the way to the offer, which again I think can be something that's done really, really poorly. What mistakes do you see FitPros make, especially the ones that come to you initially? What are they doing wrong?
So they don't have any of this structure at all, and they sort of they ask a question and just move on. So it's like, so they could do a sales call in 5 minutes and then feel awkward about asking for money. So it's like, okay, so what is it you struggle with? I need to lose weight. Okay, how much weight do you want to lose? 2 stone. How long have you been trying? Don't know. Right, okay. There's nothing that you can do. You can't do your job with them if they don't give you information. So usually it's terrible information gathering is one of the major mistakes, and not being very authoritative when they speak either, and taking control of the conversation, which can sound a bit strange, but ultimately, if you need to be the one to lead them through this process because they've come to you for help, so you need to do your job properly, and guide them through the process and give them the best opportunity to get the thing that they need, if it's the right fit. So big mistakes are always not having the structure and being terrible at information gathering.
Yeah, and like you say, just that relaying piece that we've discussed previously would be so helpful for them, because as soon as you relay that somebody said, you said you want to lose 2 stone, and then your next question would be something nice and open, like, why is that? Rather than just, you want to lose 2 stone? Okay, well, I think I can help you lose 2 stone. You're like, oh, no, don't try and get in bed on the first date. That's always a rule in sales, isn't it? Stop being so horny. Calm down.
100%. Like I like using, so like you said there, why do you want to lose 2 stone? Like I love the question. So what do you actually mean by that then? Because it's almost like a question that doesn't really make sense, but it kind of does 100%, because it makes them work harder for the answer. Like I always say as well, like when it comes to like handling objections and everything, just any point of the conversation where it's for you to ask a question to get more information. What do you mean? What does that mean to you then? You said you want to lose 2 stone. What does that mean to you then? Well, obviously it means I want to lose 2 bloody stone, but that's not the answer they'll give you. They'll go, oh, well, it means that, I'd probably get into my clothes again that I really like. I'd probably feel more confident. I don't think I'd be as self-conscious when I'm wearing like t-shirts. I'd be back into a medium size. Right. Okay. So obviously clothes and confidence here is like a big one. Just talk me through that then. What does confidence mean for you?
Yeah.
You just ask them what things mean, and they have to reciprocate and explain it.
And do you know what I mean? Obviously, I don't want to say tactics, but these are sales techniques. But ultimately, it's also going to rule out clients that are, or potential clients that are never going to buy, because it's just not appropriate for them, because they don't really care. They're just like, they've just decided on when they want to lose weight, and personal trainers, they help you lose weight. They jump on the call, but they've got no commitment. They'd probably be a terrible client as well if they don't really understand what their why is. To go all Simon Sinek on us, but it's really, really interesting that you're opening up these different avenues, and I'm a big fan of that. when it comes to mistakes that sales pros make beyond sales calls, what about when it comes to their socials? What are they doing wrong on there?
I think one thing that's like really, really common right now, because there's a lot of personal trainers with some like great personalities, a lot to offer, entertaining, full of knowledge, you know, and all these various different things. But I think because of all the different courses and all the different like copy and paste marketing type things and like quick fixes that coaches want for the social medias, everyone's fallen into the same. So like my newsfeed is full of coaches, obviously, and honest to God, you know who's purchased what course, you know who's purchased what graphics developer or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody's content's the bloody same, and it's fine picking up on trends. Don't get me wrong, pick up on trends and move forward. But the mistakes they make is they just pigeonhole themselves in every other person's type of social media. So they niche themselves inside of everybody else. The best way to create your niche is for you to step away from everybody else, become your own niche. You know what I mean? So yeah, big mistake that I see people making is they're just the same as everyone else. Same.
Yeah,
Generic, yeah.
Same Canva graphics, same graphic designer, same
Everything.
posts about bloated versus unbloated, that kind of stuff.
And it's like, you know, the whole, yeah, exactly. You know, oh my God, I'm going to start on them. But you know, like the whole, like the reels, like reels are incredible right now. They're doing big things on social media. And it's like, you know, I still see people doing reels where it's like,
oh, the pointing thing. Yeah. For those,
sorry, yeah,
for those
the
that are
audio is pointing.
the one where you point to the boxes and then you do this ingratiating hand gesture, like, work with me and I can help you. Or it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, honestly, that works so much.
It's crazy because, okay, yeah, cool, that, you know, people do that on reels, people got big views. Just do something different. Just do something a bit different. For fuck's sake. Like, I know you're just hopping on, you're trying one, you're giving it a go, whatever, but just put your own bloody spin on something, please. Like, for God's sake. So yeah, I can talk about this for hours because it does wind me up, but more coaches need to talk more about what their service does and how it helps people. Yep. Not in every single post, but if they're going to talk about bloating and how this is me bloated, this is me not bloated, can you refer that back to how your service solves that problem? Like, spell out what it is that you do, make your audience actually fully aware, be fully aware and understand what your service is. Stop trying to get virtual high fives off other coaches.
Yes. Okay.
Just stop.
Yeah. So when I first started my fitness page, I would sometimes use really high level scientific stuff about calories in, calories out. But like deeper than that in terms of like how your body absorbs it and stuff like that. And you're like, do you know the only people that like are excited by that are like people who are like really into fitness as much as you don't and see the hundreds and thousands that you're trying to reach here. They just want to understand how it works in practice, not what Eric or I don't know, Mike Israel are saying, who are brilliant resources for maybe you who's like at that level who really wants to understand it. But for Joe Blogs who still thinks you can burn the bad fat from having cashew nuts or thinks that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, you need to address it at that level. And rather than that, I think coaches trying to impress other coaches is certainly something that you do see, and that's not going to sell you anything because more often than not, they're probably not going to buy from you, Stu.
Absolutely not.
In terms of your experience with your learning, because it's clear that you're somebody that invests in themselves, what are some of the best experiences you've had? And then of course we can come on to a rant about some of the worst ones.
Yeah. So in terms of really good things that I invested in as a coach, I think one of the major things that really sort of stood out was my transition to online coaching, and where I kind of learned a lot around the content side of things and ultimately the sales side of things as well, which was succeeded with OFB, online fitness business. And like, and I'll happily like name drop that as well because of the work that he does, the work that I do inside of that company now. Like over the time, I've evolved inside of, you know, and I did the sales, but you know, everything. So, but that was a really good experience in terms of learning from a business owner that had mentors that were actual genuine business owners as well. So the people that like Suck learned from when, you know, your six figure Steve down the road, it was people who own franchises, like, big or like big high level people. So I got the sense anyway that when I was learning like actual business stuff, not just how do I earn shitloads of money and retire, the next day type of thing. So that was an incredible experience. And to be fair, more recently, it's been from like audiobooks, if I'm totally honest. Like I'm finding, for me, I need to invest in myself at a high level in terms of the sales aspects, but I'm trying to find the best route for that, because everything is so, and this is no offense to any American listeners at the moment, but it's so overly Americanized and it's super hardcore closing style. And that's, I'll never ever be that. I never want to be that. So I'm trying to find the best fit for me to invest in that element. But audiobooks, like just listening to certain books and picking up certain things and applying certain things, how could I adapt what that says and apply it to me or my business or my life or my ability to sell, whatever it is. So yeah, those, well, it's not really two things, but those things are the ones that really they've been pivotal. So the whole OFB stuff was a pivotal part in my life, and it's brought me like 2 or 3 pivotal moments in my life moving forward. And then just getting into audiobooks and listening to specific things and taking like the 4-hour work week, for example. I disregarded about 90% of that book. But if I hear one good thing, and it could be in the first 10 minutes, that's all I'm focusing on. Yeah. I'll focus on that one thing I liked, and I'll try and apply it as quickly as possible. That's just the way that I do it. I couldn't tell you anything of that book except for certain elements around like my mindset around working on your terms and being able to set things up so that you don't have to be in one specific place and you can outsource certain tasks. You know what I mean? Couldn't tell you anything else about that book. Couldn't tell you.
But that one part registered, you now applied it within your life and your business, and here you are saying,
certain elements.
I like that book, and if you can take on board this element, then you're winning. And no, I'm a big fan of that. It's very rare that you read a book and the whole thing's a smash hit, though. It's very, very difficult, because at the end of the day, I think it might be Chris Williamson that said there's some modern wisdom that a lot of self-help and development books are basically a blog, but fleshed out over 150, 200, 250 pages with lots of examples. And hopefully at some point you get what the example is telling you, so that you understand what the message of the book is. And you're like, I think that's fair, because a lot of blogs you read, you're like, oh, I feel like I've learned quite a lot there. And regularly that blog writer is actually an author as well. And the book says the exact same thing, just over a longer format to get a book deal.
It's mad. Sorry.
Oh, no, on you go, Stu. What were you saying?
I was going to say, like, when it comes to like the self-development side of things, like, I don't know if it's just me or I'm kind of being like ignorant to certain aspects of it, but like one of the best sort of self-development books that I listen to, and I've not listened to loads, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a nerd that reads, listens to hundreds a week, but one of Kevin Hart's books, like listening to him speak, I think it was either the Decision or the one about his whole life story, like just listening to certain things of that, I was like, yeah, I can relate to that in certain elements, and I understand that, so I'm going to apply what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like little things like that. Because I've listened to like Atomic Habits and all those kind of things, and for some reason, it's stories that kind of pull me in a certain way or make me think a certain way. Do you know what I mean? So when I was listening to like Shoe Dog, I honestly took that as a self-development book for me.
Yeah, a lot of people said that. The founder of Nike. Yeah, that's really interesting. And actually, I've released it now, so at the time that this comes out, this episode will be out as well. But I spoke to a gentleman called Ed Cunningham, who's behind a podcast called A Need to Read, and he was recommending that a lot of our types of personalities who want to reach peak performance and do better at life, read some fiction, because sometimes we'll relate to a character, and maybe positive characteristics of that character might be things that we want to include within our life. And he gave some examples, and I was like, that's actually quite interesting. So if anyone's not listening to that one, but it was interesting for me because we definitely have a bias to being like Atomic Habits, 12 Rules for Life, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Shoe Dog, or I don't know, somebody's autobiography, Way the Wolf, all these different things. And sometimes we can learn from other sources too. Sources that you absolutely shouldn't learn from then, Stu? What were the kind of worst experiences you've had with gurus or mentors that you've maybe paid money towards?
I don't think I'm going to name drop because I don't want to get fucking sued or something.
We won't do that, don't worry.
honest to God, I remember I signed up to one, the first one I ever signed up to, and he's a guy in my area. And if you can understand my accent, you probably just have to do a Google search and find out who's in my area. And it was one of those things where it was the first bit of money that I'd ever put down. But I only put down a deposit because I was so like uneasy about it all. It was like $3,000 that he wanted from me. Told me he was going to make me a nationally recognized PT in 90 days with 50K in my pocket and all this kind of stuff. But the whole concept of this program was to plug and play, use my stuff, use it, copy and paste it, adverts, this. I did all that. And then I got threatened to be sued for plagiarizing. And all these various different bits and bobs. I remember asking him for help on specific things, and you never got any contact with them or anything. Moving on to the next one, he was so the next one. It was a big spiel about like, well, what do your family think of you? What does your partner think of you? Do you want to be a winner? Do you want to do you want them to think of you as a loser for the rest of your life and all this kind of stuff? And I was like 22 at the time. Do you know what I mean? So I was easily kind of swayed when I was hearing these things. I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'm gonna be an idiot all my life if I don't invest in this program. Couldn't afford it, so got palmed off with like the PDF download, which was still about 1,500 quid. But I actually made a little bit of money from that. It was my first experience of being like a hardcore closer. We needed to pay rent in this gym that we had. I closed about 15 grand in 2 weeks. And I was like, I am the Messiah. Like I am God's gift.
Yeah. No wonder, because it's a big investment, Stu. And I know you'd said to me before, sometimes there's maybe like the mentors, like the figurehead, but you'll then get outsourced quite quickly to like a VA or a PA or an admin person that will be your email contact for queries. And you're thinking, well, actually I've paid all this money to ask a question about my business to whoever it is. And you're kind of getting palmed off to maybe a bot response or whatever. Now I know they're all for automation and probably streamlining your business, but they've streamlined their mentor service. That means you don't get any contact.
And that's the thing. It's when they call it a mentorship. Like a mentorship is supposed to be, in my eyes, it's working with a mentor. Do you know what I mean? And it's when they're marketed and sold to you as, oh, hey, come work with me. You'll be working with me. I will, work with you through your business and blah blah blah. And then you just get palmed off. Like I think if you've got a digital product and a group, call it that, because they're good. They work. They do great stuff. Just stop telling people that it's one thing and then it turns into something else. And then, when someone says, well, this is not what I wanted and I want a refund, you can't just turn around and say, well, sounds like it's a you problem. Do you know what I mean? You just don't want it enough and all this kind of crap. So yeah, it's a strange old world, guruing in the fitness industry.
Yeah. Couple final questions from me, Stuart. There's a kind of common theme on LinkedIn where I spend a lot of time learning that the phone is dead. We should be using social selling. We should be driving leads through our social media, our Instagrams, maybe even our email list, which of course we know is very effective through our friend Chris Burns. What's your thoughts on the phone? Because obviously it still plays a massive role for what your agency does and what you coach people to be better at.
So it's one of those things, like literally everything works, like diets, like anything in fitness, everything absolutely works. It's just whether you can actually, keep up with it and do it. So in my eyes, like the reason why I believe the phone is not dead and never will be is because it's probably the easiest one out of all of them to master. Like realistically, you're not relying on any other skills, because I always get coaches that come to me and they're like, oh, I've got this product, I want to sell it. Like I want to send people straight to a landing page, or should I get them on a phone? Like, well, how much is it? Like 200 quid. Okay. In an ideal world, you get great at copy, you do a landing page, you go straight to a sales page and they'll purchase. How good are you at copy? Not very good. Get them on the phone then. It's just the easiest one to master. You'll never replace a human conversation. You just won't. So if you understand how to have that's all selling is. It's understanding how to have a proper conversation that leads down a certain path. The phone will never. I'll never stop using the phone, even though I do the majority of the time to sell my own stuff. It's if people message me, I'm like, yeah, cool, this is what it is. If you want it, hop in type of thing. But phone conversations, no, I don't think you'll ever properly replace it. And the people that are saying it are the ones who are selling the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's bots, emails, and whatever else. So
yeah, coming from a significant bias. And my last question before asking where to connect with you, Stu, is given that you've got this skill set and selling in the fitness industry, where else do you think you could apply it potentially in the future?
Me personally, or do you mean just selling in general?
You personally, and maybe the agency as well. If you were to, if the fitness world was taken away from you, where do you think you could apply that work?
To be honest, I firmly believe anywhere, because I think once you can understand how to have a conversation and sell, you can apply it anywhere. Because we don't just sell fitness products anyway. Like we have a course, we sell a course that's provided for fitness professionals, but we are waiting to start with a company in America that it's just purely business to business. It's got nothing to do with fitness, and that's going to be a $5,000 product. So it makes no difference to me. If I know someone's got a problem that needs solving and a product that can solve it, I can match the two together. Simple.
That's me being sneaky there, Stu. I've asked you a leading question because I think I knew the answer to that. Because
no, it's all good.
It certainly sounds like when you have your understanding of structure and people's emotions and how to relay information and how to move forward and how to be confident in your close after you've already told somebody that they're going to be met with an offer at the end of a call, then there's a huge overlap into wherever you choose to apply that. So I think even those that have tuned in that have not been maybe fitness professionals will have learned a lot in terms of how to maybe sell more of what they're doing. Because I think ultimately everybody's in sales in some way, because whether we're selling
100%.
Whether we're selling a diet plan or a 12-week cut or whatever it is to somebody, we're all definitely selling something. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Stu. Where should people head towards if they want to learn more from yourself?
So I post mainly on Instagram, to be honest. Stu_FitPro sales is where I do most of my whatever it is that I do kind of thing. So yeah, feel free to head over there and drop me a follow. Just drop me a message to say that you've heard me on here, and I'll know where you've come from. But yeah, sales is one of those things that it doesn't just affect you in the sales aspect. Like if you get confident at selling, like I say, we're always in sales. We're selling every minute of the day, realistically. So you're more confident in conversations with opportunities, creating opportunities. All these various different things. It's something that can dramatically improve a lot of areas, not just cash in the bank, basically.
So true. And what a note for us all to finish on. If you have enjoyed this, guys, please take a screenshot, pop it in your Instagram story, tag me at call.cambro and tag Stu as well. And I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very